Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the incredible story of a nation's fight for freedom. But we're going to tell it through its armored vehicles. This is a history of pure innovation, constant adaptation, and a serious legacy of punching way above its weight.
So we're going to cover a ton of ground here, over a century of history actually. We'll start right after World War I, when the very first tanks rolled into Poland, and we'll take it all the way to today, looking at some seriously ambitious concepts for the future battlefield. It's a real journey from pure necessity to bold vision.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Our story begins right after World War I. Poland is a newly independent nation again, and it's facing this monumental task of building a country from scratch. That means a new army, new industries, a whole new identity. And a modern army, even back then, needed tanks. Now here's something interesting. The first so-called Polish tanks weren't Polish at all. They were French Renault FTs. You know, the iconic little tank from World War I. But for Poland, these machines were way more than just weapons. They were like a mobile classroom. This is where an entire generation of engineers, tacticians, and soldiers really learned the art of armored warfare.
So from that French foundation, Poland quickly moved into what's known as the tankette phase. Think small, think fast, and most importantly, think cheap. This led to them developing their own light vehicles, like the TK3 and its more advanced successor, the TKS. They were designed for things like reconnaissance and giving the infantry some much-needed support.
But listen, while these tankettes were small, you should not underestimate them. The TKS, especially, was a big improvement. Some were even armed with a 20mm cannon, which was a weapon just powerful enough to punch right through the armor of those early German tanks. In 1939, against absolutely overwhelming odds, these tiny vehicles famously scored some incredible victories, knocking out several bigger German Panzer I and II tanks. A true David versus Goliath story, right there.
But the real crown jewel of this whole interwar era and Poland's first truly independent tank design was the 7TP. This was the machine that basically announced to the world that Polish engineering had well and truly arrived.
And this comparison just illustrates its importance so perfectly. Just look at the stats. When the war began, the 7TP was superior to the vast majority of German tanks it was up against. It had a powerful 37mm Bofors cannon that could outrange and outpunch the German panzers. And get this, it even had a diesel engine, which was super rare at the time. That meant better range and a much lower risk of catching fire. The 7TP was, no joke, a genuinely world-class design.
All right, now let's hit the fast-forward button, way into the post-Cold War era. This is where we can see Poland's huge strategic pivot, from being in the Warsaw Pact to joining NATO, and it's perfectly reflected in its tank fleet. This is history meeting modern geopolitics head-on.
This one slide really captures the core challenge and the strategy of the modern Polish army. On one hand, you've got the T-72. That's the Soviet legacy. It's been pragmatically upgraded with modern optics and gear to serve as a really reliable reserve force. But on the other hand, you have the powerful Leopard 2 PL. This is a deeply modernized German design that represents Poland's full-on integration into NATO, and it forms the backbone of their frontline armored forces today.
And this brings us to the most ambitious chapter yet. I mean, we've seen Poland adapt foreign tanks, we've seen them modernize old ones, but now? Now we're seeing them imagine completely new concepts for the future of warfare itself.
You see, to compete in the 21st century, where sensors and precision weapons are everywhere, Polish designers started asking a really radical question. It's one that challenges the very definition of what a tank even is. Can you make it invisible?
And their answer was the PL-01 concept. Now, this thing wasn't about having the thickest armor. No, its main goal was to avoid being detected in the first place. With that stealthy, angular shape designed to deflect radar, an unmanned turret to shrink its silhouette, and all kinds of advanced electronics, the PL-01 was a technology demonstrator. It was a bold signal of a whole new direction in Polish military thinking.
And the PL-01 wasn't just some one-off thing. Other advanced prototypes like the PT-16 and PT-17 really showcase this serious drive to push existing tank designs to their absolute limits. We're talking adding powerful NATO-caliber guns and state-of-the-art protection systems. And these weren't just for Poland's own use, they were also designed with an eye on the very competitive global export market.
So what does this all mean for Poland's armored forces today? Well, it means a pretty complex four-part strategy. It's about fully integrating with NATO, while at the same time pragmatically managing all its older equipment. They're also courageously trying to create unique innovations, and all the while, they're looking for opportunities on the global stage. It's a real balancing act. So this entire journey, From those first borrowed Renaults through a world-class tank like the 7TP, all the way to a futuristic concept like the PL-01, it leaves us with one really compelling question. After a whole century of proving its engineering skill, will Poland's next great tank finally be a design that is, once again, uniquely and entirely its own?